Welcome to the Discover Universal podcast. Keep your hands and feet inside the vehicle. And watch your step on the moving walkway because we're taking you park to park to prepare you for your next visit. Let's Discover Universal.
Welcome to the Discover Universal podcast. I'm Kari, and one of my favorite dishes on property is the vegan barbecue jackfruit.
And I'm David, and this is a very special episode because there are lots of people in our lives that have food allergies and special food preferences, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
You're absolutely right. We have an awesome interview lined up. Nicole Martino, she is our on-property nutritionist.
What?
Yeah.
We have that?
Yes, we do.
Yes.
And she's a rock star, and she's be giving us some tips and tricks. She's going to be walking us through the behind-the-scenes elements, and she is going to be talking to us today about how we include all those guests out there that do have dietary needs and restrictions and preferences.
Yeah, this is a really interesting episode for me because I will say this is not a topic that I personally know very much about.
Agreed, same.
I don't have any, allergy restrictions or really any special food preferences or anything like that.
Same.
So I know that, we've talked about it before on the podcast whenever we'll go out together. Our producer, Michelle, has an avocado allergy. And so when we'll eat at a restaurant, we'll let the server know. The server will go get generally the chef and just kind of make sure that everything's accommodated for.
All of our guests who are coming to us with different palates, different sensitivities, allergies, needs, restrictions, we are here to accommodate you. Like you said, has been fascinating learning about this. Like you said, a topic that we don't know a lot about. So we are really discovering along with you how they handle that.
Yeah. And I mean, we don't really have too much to say about it. So let's just get into it. Let's welcome in our very special guest for this episode. So without further ado, let us welcome in Nicole.
My friends, we are here at the Radio Broadcast Center. We have a very special guest today to talk about some of the Universal Orlando Resort dietary needs of our guests. So pleasure to have you here. If you would go ahead and introduce yourself and what your role is here.
Hi, my name is Nicole Martino. I am the park nutritionist. I handle all of the special dietary requests, whether it's allergens or kosher or things about vegan or any of along those lines. I handle all the guest requests. I handle all the stuff within the parks. I assist in making sure we have everything on point and all of our guests can come and enjoy our food here and have a safe and fun experience.
That is a big job. That's a lot of things. Yeah.
It is a lot. It's a lot of fun, though.
First of all, I got to tell you, Nicole's a rock star because she comes in here in this bright yellow dress. You look so sunny with these amazing matching shoes. Like
I try to.
I love it. I love it.
Always got to match.
That's perfect. I love a little positive energy boost in here. All right.
I have to apologize for my ignorance. I didn't know that a park nutritionist was a role here.
Yeah, and it's funny. Apparently, that seems to be a common theme that I'm hearing. I exist. I am here, and I am more than happy to help you. Yeah, awesome. So it's just it's a special dietary position, and I think because in the past it hasn't been as big a deal as it is now.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. So more and more locations in general are, my position is called for. Before, this position was limited to hospitals and, and different kinds of homes and things like that. Now it's becoming, my background is food. I do dietetics, but my background is food as well. And the more that the allergy awareness is becoming a big thing, the more the need for this position is out there. So it's a lot of fun if you're a foodie that is into nutrition and dietetics as well. It's a lot of fun for us because we're not limited in a hospital position. Like, I love it here. This is fun for me doing this kind of thing. So I think a lot of it has to do with what your background is too.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, walk us through your background. How did we get you? How did we get you as our nutritionist?
I started in culinary school, and I had a chef, and he was our nutrition chef, and I was very fascinated. I was that student that kept asking a billion questions and was like, well, what if we do this? Well, what if we do that? Well, how do we change it? So I was that student, and he said, this is your thing. We need to figure out this is going to be your thing. And it was my thing. And right around that same time, I started having some really strange illnesses, and it was before food allergies were really tested for. And I went through like 6 or 7 doctors, and nobody could understand what was wrong with me. And I finally got to the doctor who had me do the food allergy blood test. And he's like, yeah, you're allergic to peanuts and soy. And I was like, oh, this is fun because
That's kind of a big one.
It was a big one. Yeah, it was a big one. And at the time, I hadn't had any anaphylactic reactions to peanuts, but I would definitely like hives were coming out. The soy was the really big one because I was just sick. It would make me like physically ill. And once I was able to figure this out, I said, all right, I'm definitely not the only person in the world going through this right now, and there's other people. And it kind of spiraled from there. I kind of, developed a private food company. I was living down in South Florida at the time, and I had a specialty food company, and I would specialize in figuring out how to accommodate people's food allergy. It just wasn't a thing at the time. Yeah. So then I went on and got my master's degree, and I'm just completely fascinated with how a food item can change. Not only can it change, a person's body type, but it can change, it's fascinating to me.
Wow.
So, I happen to really like it, and I really like food. So
I can tell. Like I love like the passion that you have for dietetics. I mean, and you're in a unique position because you know what it feels to be affected by a food allergy. So you probably have that much more empathy for our guests, and I think that much more important to you.
I think that's what makes this more exciting for me.
Yeah,
it's. When you get an email from a parent, or when I get an email from a parent, and I can feel the pain in their voice, and I have conversations with these people, I see these people, like these parents are crying because their kids can't do things. I had a woman cry. I did a seminar a couple of weeks ago. I had a woman cry in the middle of a seminar because I had mentioned to her, hey, listen, I've got some top 9 allergen-free snacks for your son, and I happen to have some at the seminar, and I gave her some. And I said, when you come, you email me, and I'll tell you where the snacks are. And she started crying. Aww. And I said, this is why I do this. This is why. But I know, too, there are plenty of places where I go out to eat. You're tree nuts, right? Tree nut allergy. I have a peanut, she's a tree nut. It's hard because there's a cross-contamination factor that people don't think about. How frustrated do you get occasionally when you go out, So it's frustrating. And people look at you and they're like, you have what? And if they don't understand. So part of what I'm trying to do is kind of spread the awareness and make people understand, yes, we can accommodate you here. Everyone is included here. That's the thing about Universal, right? We're known for diversity. Well, people with food allergies, they're a part of the diverse population, so we need to make sure that we're prepared. And we are. We have an excellent group of chefs here. We have an excellent team of people that are now understanding. I'm like, okay, we need to have this. Okay, cool. That's fine. What do you need? How do we get it? How do we make it happen? So I think the understanding that we need to be all-inclusive, it's growing. It's definitely growing. So the fact that people now know that I exist will be probably helpful.
That's awesome.
Yes, you have a resource. If you do have any dietary restrictions, Nicole is here to help.
Yeah. I am. So Nicole was referencing our executive producer, Michelle, who's off microphone right now.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
No, it's all good. So Michelle has a tree nut allergy, allergic to avocados and stuff. So unfortunately, no tableside guacamole for Michelle. It's very sad.
Sorry. But it's really good though.
But yeah, so we've gone out to eat on the podcast, and she'll generally bring it up to our server, and a chef will come over. They always accommodate. They make sure they talk with her, and maybe we can just talk through like what is the process for a guest who's maybe coming to the park, with an allergy, with a dietary restriction. Maybe, where does the process start for them? How does it work?
There's a couple different ways you can go about it. Anytime you make a reservation at any of our full service locations, you can notate it on your allergy on your reservation. When you get to the restaurant, just let them know, hey, I have a food allergy. I would like a chef consultation, and a chef or a manager will come over and speak to you about your food items. They are all allergy trained. Everybody is fully trained in how to handle this. There are some other complicating circumstances where somebody has, multiple allergies or things like that, and they want to go to a quick service location or something along those lines. If you're looking at someone like Mel's, or at that point, you probably need to email me. And what I do is I reach out to those chefs and I say, hey, you have a guest coming on such and such a date. Here's the time frame. These are the food allergies. Whatever options you have, let me know, and we'll let them know. I communicate with the chefs. They set it.
And this is food.allergy at universalorlando.com?
Yep, food.allergy.
Cool. I'm sure we'll say it many more times.
Yes.
I apologize.
No, you're fine. So we let the chefs know, and they're great. Hey, these are the food allergies. Either I research what we have, or they do, or we kind of come together, and our executive chefs they put a little, calendar note, allergy, a guest this time, put the guest name and everything along those lines.
So I know that we have some standard menu items that are available to all of our guests, vegan, vegetarian options as well. But are you saying that if a guest came and maybe they had an allergy to a menu item, that doesn't come standard, will they create a dish for that person?
100%.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we create things all the time.
Wow.
A lot of that comes from somebody emailing me. I'm probably about to get 1 billion emails now.
Inbox full.
I'm going to call you guys tomorrow and be like, by the way, I now have 800 emails.
Sorry, bud.
Yeah, a lot of that comes from them emailing me and me just saying, hey, this is what we have, or hey, and the chef sometimes will go to the table and say, you know what, we have this and this and this. I'm going to create something special for you. And they will, and they're some locations are known for it. Some locations are different people go different locations across property. But everybody is trained, everybody is great, and it's a lot of fun for me to make things happen for people when they don't think it's going to be able to happen. I get a lot of thank you. I didn't realize this was a thing, and kids, a lot of happy kids.
Yeah,
that always makes me feel
happy
better.
parents too.
Right, happy parents. Yeah, happy parents. But it's things like when you have a specialty event and our bakery, for example, our bakery, we don't have an allergen-free bakery. So just being able to give a kid with a peanut allergy like myself or a tree nut allergy like Michelle, hey, here's a specially packaged cookie for you because I know your mom won't let you have this. Here you go. The smile on the face of the kid who gets a specialty item is fantastic. We have guests that have an allergy called PKU. It's a protein allergy where they're only allowed to have a certain milligram of protein per meal per day. So I brought in their special things we brought in. I brought in special noodles for them to have. There's special vegan cheeses they can have along those lines. So that's usually when you'll see me. The guests that'll see me will be those guests because I make sure, hey, if it's a quick serve location, I bring things to different locations for them. And I talk to the kids and they're always great. They're always grateful.
This is like fun. Such a huge operation. It really is. Yeah.
Well, I didn't realize until you started saying it. It's like this big puzzle because you have like your love for food, your love for culinary and cooking and everything on one side. And then on the other side, it's like the puzzle piece of like, well, if this doesn't work, what can we substitute? And how does the dish still work? How is it still delicious?
Yeah, and it has to taste good.
Yeah. That's why when I was younger, when I had the specialty foods company, when I was living down in Miami area, that was basically what I did. Like I spent all of my days, I was in my kitchen like trying to figure out how do I replicate this? How do I make this work for this person? People would give me special. And that's kind of how I became good at it. It's trial and error.
Yeah.
For me. It was trial and error. How do you make a certain thing? How do you help somebody? How do you help a diabetic kid enjoy a cookie? Things along those lines. How do you help somebody with a peanut allergy or people that are gluten or vegan and vegetarian? All of it. It doesn't matter which one it is. How do you make something taste good? Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to have something that tastes good, right?
Yep.
You can't just throw a salad in front of a vegan and expect them to eat it. They need good products. You can't just gluten-free, we're just going to use a bunch of... No, the gluten-free people, they want to eat a cookie or a piece of cake that doesn't have gluten in it, and they want it to taste good too. And I think now... people are real. There's a ton of companies out there that have these products, so it's a lot easier now than it was when I was trying to do this 20 years ago. Trust me, trying to find gluten-free flour or trying to like recreate a decent flour.
Right.
So, and I think for me, it's the fascination for me. When the chefs here come up with something, I'm like, oh, that's really good. That's really impressive. It's amazing to me too. Yeah. And I'm like, hey, I love to be able to turn around and go to our guests. You know what? Our chefs created this. This is fantastic. You should try this.
One of my favorite dishes on property. There's a lot of locations that have it. It's the barbecue jackfruit.
Yes,
it's vegan, and I'm not a vegan. I just enjoy the taste of it so much that's what I order.
That I will agree with you on that. Yeah. That barbecue jackfruit is fantastic.
It's something else. Mm-hmm. It's great. Mm-hmm. I have a question, I guess, about food preparation.
Okay,
because that's part of it as well, right?
Sure.
The cross contaminants on the grill, or do you have special cooking apparatuses or things behind the scenes, I guess, in the kitchen that make it easier?
We do not have allergen-free kitchens. Let me start with that.
Okay,
but there are ways, and I'm going to be honest here. Most restaurants do not have allergen-free kitchens. I don't care what they say, unless it's an allergen-free restaurant. They do exist.
Sure.
Most locations, any restaurant, they're not an allergen-free restaurant. It doesn't matter where you go. So what you have to do is you have to learn to take precautions. Some areas have new pans. Some areas will scour the pans. They'll pull, certain disinfected utensils. We have these purple allergy kits in every single kitchen. And inside the allergy kit, you open it up. There's tongs. There's a knife. There's a purple cutting board. There's a thermometer for testing. There's all of these things. And you can go to a cleaned and sanitized safe area. And you can prepare the meal there, and the chef will have a new pan or a sanitized pan, and they cook it in their little area, and they do it that way, or depending on whatever they're doing. We do have some locations will have dedicated fryers that are strictly for French fries. So you just, some locations will have that. I mean, there's certain things. So if you go to Antojitos, the chips at Antojitos are gluten-free. There's an upstairs fryer, and they only cook the chips in the upstairs fryer. So there's just certain things that we do. There's certain precautions that we take, and it's a popular thing. You kind of have to. So there's all kinds of precautions.
You guys thought of everything.
Yeah, we got little like purple allergy picks that go in your food.
The pigs.
We were calling them the allergy sticks.
Oh. That's basically what they are, though.
Yeah.
They're the little paddles. They're the purple paddles. I had those. Yeah.
So you know which plate or which item
the
is
allergy.
the
Right.
allergy. Yeah.
Right. Did they stick one in your tree nut food?
Yeah.
See, they stuck one. So then, did you feel better?
Yeah, we
Right?
got the tuna nachos. And so it came. We had the avocado on the side, so they can have it. But I got the
Right.
nachos
See, they
too,
put the
which
little
is nice.
purple allergy pick, and you knew, hey, listen, they paid attention to my food allergy, and this does not have my allergy in it. Right? Makes you feel better.
For a resort
little
that
things.
processes that many meals and that many guests,
It's insane the
a
amount of
day.
allergies.
I
we
mean,
have.
but that to have that level of
The time
detail
and
and
the care.
dedication, that's
Yeah.
pretty incredible.
And it makes people feel so much better too, and it makes
Yeah,
them feel
sure.
cared for, like you were saying. And I think part of what you're doing is you're taking kind of like the taboo away from it. I know, like I've spent a lot of time in the parks with people, who I care about with tree nut allergies or friends that they're allergic to like soy or corn or something that's in everything.
Corn and soy are the worst.
And they always feel bad. They're like, oh, I'm dragging down the group.
Yeah.
We got to pick a special place. We got blah, blah, blah. I need a special menu. And like, I guess it's so nice to hear that like you don't have to feel that way. You don't have to feel that apprehension.
Nope.
This is something that has been accommodated for. You know what I mean? And they are welcome no matter where on property, right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to. And part of we have an amazing talent and development team here that handles all of the training, and I work very closely with that team about training our team members right from the start. Right when you come on, the first thing you get, part of what you learn here is, hey, here's the food allergies, here's how we handle it, here's what's done. So right immediately, every person that comes to work here knows, hey, listen, this is the norm here. This is the norm. And it's not taboo. And it was, and you're right, for the longest time. And I did all the time. I would have issues. Like I go out with my family now, and it's like nobody even bats an eyelash. Everybody in family, they're like, no peanuts. No, don't, nothing.
No peanuts, no soy.
No, right. So like, but I mean, for the longest time, it was, and just what you said, people would feel embarrassed. And it was almost like one of those things where it was like shunned upon to have a food allergy. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah.
So kids nowadays, I think parents they make like these little allergy cards. So even if they're not with their parent, like they carry the allergy card and they hand the allergy card to the chef at locations. That happens a lot too, which is fantastic.
So smart.
Yeah, it's really fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah, but I mean, what you just said, I get emails all the time. Hey, I'm trying to find a location to eat ahead of time because the rest of my family doesn't understand my food allergy and feels like I cause issues for the trip. So where can we go? And I give them like a whole list of, hey, here's where you can go if you have this, that, or the other. Yeah, I give them a list of like every location across all of our properties. Like, here's where you can go if you have dairy allergy. Like, I could send it to you, and I'd be like, okay, Michelle, here's where you can go that, that does not across all of our properties. So, yeah.
What a huge undertaking. I'm truly blown away. I mean, by the level of dedication. It's a big deal.
What it comes down to for me is I have a peanut and a soy allergy, and I need to know these things, and I feel like everyone else should know it too.
Yeah.
You get it.
So
Yeah.
I do
It's
get it.
personal.
Yeah. It's personal.
It is personal, right?
I
It
get it.
is.
I go here.
It is personal. I try, and I say that a lot too.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I have a peanut allergy because when things will come up, I'm like, listen, I have a peanut allergy. If I can't eat it, then you need to find something that I can eat.
Yeah. Yeah. You do.
So,
If you could maybe sum up, I guess, your credo or something in like one sentence, like what do you say to a guest that's nervous to come to the parks that they're not going to have anything to eat and it's not going to taste good?
I've noticed. I'm honest with guests. And if I tell them, and this happens all the time, and people love this, I say, listen, I have a peanut allergy. I get it. I understand where you're coming from, and I will make sure that someone here will have a safe and exciting meal for you. That's usually my go-to. And as soon as people realize that I have an allergy and I get it, and I'm here for you, I'm in your corner, I'm not going to let anything happen to you. Usually, that makes people feel a lot better. And I think it's the same thing, it's any kind of a situation, and you need to be relatable. You need to be relatable to the community that you're trying to get a message across to. And whether it's, food allergies for me or whatever it is that, people need to feel like you understand. Yep. So I think as soon as I tell all kinds of people that, I email them that all the time. I'm like, hey, I'm here. I get it. And as soon as people, and that's just the biggest go-to, as long as they understand that, you are here for them.
Automatic trust and, that personal touch.
Sure.
You're right.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to transition a little bit off of allergies because I think in this episode we're kind of taking a holistic approach. We're talking about allergies, but we're also talking about preferences and things like that.
That fits in as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know there's been a big kind of shift and focus on vegan and vegetarian options as well throughout the parks.
There is, yeah.
Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. How have the menus been shifting? How do you how are you involved with the menus? How do you approach the menus? Things like that?
I have nothing to do with menu development. We have an unbelievable team of very talented chefs here, and they are all well aware of the importance of having vegan and vegetarian items. I think what we're really getting into now is making sure it's actually labeled everywhere. All of our printed menu items have vegan and vegetarian options, all of the signboards, all of those things. And they make sure when they do a menu shift, they always make sure, listen, do we have an option? Even if it's the menu item itself is not vegan or vegetarian, we put an option in. Hey, listen, we're going to do this pad thai, but if you want it to be vegan, make sure you request it with tofu and this particular vegan sauce. So they'll make special items for our vegan guests and vegetarians. Vegetarians are a little bit less challenging to make adaptations for, but you can go in anywhere and request any kind of an adaptation. And we have all kinds of different, plant-based items, whether it's a Beyond Burger or things along those lines. Yeah, they make sure they have, all of the options available and by request. If you're somewhere and you don't want this particular brand and this other place has it and you email me, they can usually, within reason, if we're in the same location. Like, we have so many options now. There's somewhere. If in City Walk, there's so many different options that if you wanted one thing from, somewhere, and they'll usually, they're very accommodating. I mean, extremely accommodating here. I've never had a situation where I've said, hey, can I have this in this restaurant? And someone has told me no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Making it work.
They make it work. They do.
Love it.
Oh, they do. Yeah, they make
This is
it
so
work.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, and there's other, so we have kosher meals. All of our kosher meals come from a third-party vendor now. So those are things that get special ordered. They get delivered from the kosher menu into the park, and then those are handled only in our full-service restaurants. So we handle that as well. Like I said, the PKU is really big right now. The PKU allergy is something that I'm real partial to that one. I know, and you would not believe how. And people are fascinated when they email me. I'm like, oh yeah, I handle that all the time. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, we got PKU.
I was the only one.
Yeah, no, and that's why I brought in the special noodles, and we're able to. We have specialty pizzas that we bring in for the PKU guests and have them over. We just had a couple of them at Volcano Bay and here and there, and I try to make sure that I know where all the options are.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not as challenging to eat here with a special dietary request as people would think.
Nicole, what if I just don't like onions? How does that work? I just say no onions.
So we have, yes.
They just say, get over it. We got bigger fish to fry.
No, we have a rule here. If you say you don't want something, we automatically assume it's an allergy and it's treated as such.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not allergic to onions, but
you don't want to eat
I don't like raw onions. So
I don't blame you. I don't either.
Okay.
So you're okay.
She gets it. Personal touch.
Yeah.
See that? I trust you.
Yes.
I trust you to not put
I will
onions.
make sure. No. And we will make sure that we'll just make sure from now on that everyone knows if you walk in, no onions near the table at all.
Thank you.
Or near her
Thank you
food.
so much.
Absolutely. I aim to
You guys are the
please. That's
best.
what I'm here for.
You're the best.
I'm just seeing on the website that I guess it is helpful if a guest is coming to contact you guys ahead of time, right?
It is helpful.
Yes.
Yes.
So,
however, oh boy.
I guess I'm saying, is it required?
That was the next statement. No, it's not required.
Okay.
It is not required, especially if you're celiac. That particular special dietary request is so common here. People email me all the time petrified because let me tell you what, if you get gluten as a celiac, it is one of the most horrific 3 to 4 days of your life.
Oh my gosh.
It's awful. I mean, they do, not all of them will go into, it's not like an anaphylaxis reaction where you stop breathing, but let me tell you what, the other reactions from being gluten by a celiac are like that can ruin somebody's 3 to 4 days.
Wow.
So that is something that across property now is so regulated. Like everyone knows. If someone says, I have celiac, people know what's going on.
That's huge.
Yeah. If you tell them, as long as you tell them, hey, I have celiac, I need that, and they are super accommodating. It's very common.
Incredible.
Yeah, and I think some of it comes from knowing what people are going through. I think it's important and it's hard because if you don't have celiac, it's hard to understand. But if you've ever had a serious case of gastrointestinal distress for 3 to 4 days, you'll understand. Or if you've ever had the wind knocked out of you, right? As a child or even as an adult, that's what an anaphylaxis reaction feels like, right? So, and we have all of our health services have EpiPens and things along those lines. So I think it helps to understand what someone goes through with the reaction in order to be sympathetic and understand why we need these things. And like I said, we have them. We got them all.
And why we work so hard to avoid those.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it doesn't get to that point.
We want you to enjoy your time here.
Right. And that's the thing. I don't want people to be nervous about coming here. You shouldn't be nervous. You're here to enjoy yourself. It's a fun place.
Yeah.
You shouldn't get wrapped up in worrying about, somebody having a reaction.
Can I ask, I know you said that it sounds like, we're fairly accommodating across property anywhere you go, but to generalize, are there maybe certain restaurants that are your favorite or depending on certain restrictions? Like, do you have like favorites that you point people to or depending on, I know I'm asking you to generalize here.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes and no. Do I have favorite restaurants that I like to eat at on property that have absolutely nothing to do with my food allergies? Of course I do. I think we all have preferences, right? I think there's just certain, Today Cafe is fantastic for all things.
Okay.
They're great. They have a gluten-free bread. They'll have a gluten-free bun. They can make the salads, with no nuts. There's certain salads there. Hey, listen, I need this made. They'll hand make it. They are fantastic with all things food allergies. So it just depends. Full service is anywhere. Anywhere is any location is accommodating. My favorite full service location to eat at is Big Fire, but that has nothing to do with. I know I live.
too.
Right?
You love Big Fire?
I do. That has nothing to do with food allergies. I just love Big Fire.
You just like
I just like the open pit fire. It makes me feel very homey in there.
Yes.
But I mean, people come back to me. It doesn't matter where they go.
Nicole and her team are going to take good care of you.
That's what we do here.
Right? Come enjoy. Have a great day. Have a delicious meal, no matter what your preferences are.
Right.
And know that you're going to be safe and taken care of.
Right. It's all about the diversity.
I love it.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I mean, this was incredibly illuminating.
For sure.
I know. I do exist. It's
Fascinating.
I'm going to email you and just be like, hey, girl. Hey, what's up?
Hi. You do
How
exist.
you doing?
I do acknowledge
there
you.
she is. She's got an email address.
I will say like an unsung hero of Universal Orlando, but definitely not unsung to the people that need you and the people that rely on you. So that's wonderful.
I appreciate you guys letting me let everybody know that they can come here.
There you go.
Fantastic.
Thank you for all you do.
No worries. Thank you.
Kari,
Yes.
I'm flabbergasted.
So am I.
That was fascinating.
We learned a lot.
My favorite episodes are always the ones that I don't know anything about and we actually learn a ton. And
Yeah.
Today I learned so much.
You mean we get to discover Universal? I said it. Hey, I think we should let our guests discover a little bit more with a little wrap up we like to call the Take 5 Rewind.
Number 1, if you have dietary restrictions and you'd like to get in touch with Nicole and her team, there's a few ways to do it. The easiest way is just to email food.allergy@universalorlando.com. There's also a phone number that you can call ahead of time as well. All of this information is on the Universal Orlando website on a page called Dietary Needs, and we'll put a link to that in the show notes as well. There's also a way on the Universal Orlando app, if you're doing a mobile ordering, there's a thing called allergy note. So kind of like when you're ordering your food, you order your sandwich, whatever, the allergy note will kind of be selected as a menu item. And then that'll let the team know ahead of time that, hey, you have an allergy concern. And then you'll be able to check in with somebody on that team, somebody on the culinary team before they prepare your food so that they'll know exactly how to take care of you.
Number 2, know that we can accommodate so many dietary needs. There are some very common ones like vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, kosher, halal. There's allergens like celiac or soy or like Nicole said, PKU. There are so many more. So if you are allergic to a specific food, no matter how specific, please let us know, communicate. That way we can accommodate.
Number 3, take a look at the Discover Universal blog, which often has great options for dishes that we have in the park. For example, there was a great blog posted back in November that was a guide to vegan and vegetarian food options at Universal Orlando Resort. And it's actually an extensive list. They went through and listed all the different locations in the park and some great options at all these places. So there are some really good resources already that you can kind of plan ahead and get to know what to aim for out there.
Number 4, know that the menu items are frequently updated. Just like right now, we have some new menu items, some gluten-free cocktails for our guests 21 years of age and up. That is at La Bamba Mimosa Bar, The Watering Hole over in Jurassic Park, and Chez Alcatraz. They have a special purple allergy shaker. So they do a special shakers and apparatuses to make sure that everything is taken care of. And again, accommodating those who are gluten-free.
And number 5, the incredible work that Nicole and her team does is really meant to just kind of take the taboo out of these dietary restrictions. I mean, there is no need to feel like you're a burden. If you're coming to the park, if you're coming with friends, you're worried about dragging down the group, worried about your allergy needs and everything. That should not be an issue here. I mean, this is all set up to accommodate everything, include everyone, all your food needs, all your food preferences. And so we've hopefully kind of made it a little bit easier for you that you know how to communicate with our culinary team members ahead of time so you can plan. And even when you're here, there are some options that you can just deal with on the spot. Our team is very agile in making sure that they're communicating with you and knowing exactly what you need and then working to accommodate those needs as well.
Like Nicole said, it's all about making your experience here both safe and delicious. So we are so glad to welcome everybody's palate and preferences. Thank you so much to Nicole for a fascinating interview.
Yeah,
of course,
amazing.
Thank you to David, co-host. Thank you to our executive producer, Michelle, our sound engineer, Art, and all of our listeners. Have a wonderful time out there in the parks.
Bon appetit.
To learn more about Universal Parks and Resorts, head to our show notes for links to our Discover Universal blog for a more in-depth look around our destination. While you're there, sign up to receive emails that will include articles, videos, and this podcast delivered right to your inbox to prepare for your next vacation. If you liked what you heard, leave us a review and don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.